It's time to bid farewell to the iPhone's decade-old Lightning connector, as Apple has announced that it will soon support USB-C charging. So why will future iPhones include USB-C chargers? And what if the switch to USB-C by Apple is just a stopgap, or do they have another plan to embrace wireless technology? What are the possibilities? Want to know more? If yes, then stay tuned to this video on Texan. Apple's proprietary port is finally reaching the end of its life, 10 years after the company first introduced the Lightning port. In an interview, Apple's senior VP of worldwide marketing, Joswiak, confirmed that the iPhone would get USB-C. But when exactly will it arrive? Should you hold off on upgrading till Apple releases the iPhone with the USB-C port? Let's take a look at the current situation involving the iPhone and USB-C. It would have been better for Apple Incorporated to implement charging via USB-C on the iPhone and other mobile devices a few years ago. After all, some laptops began using USB-C in 2015, and Apple didn't start using it on the iPad Pro until 2018. Instead, it has provided its most devoted clients with a bewildering variety of options to choose from. If you are an Apple user who has an iPhone, AirPods, iPad, Apple Watch, and MacBook, then you need at least 3 different chargers. You will need a Lightning charger for the iPhone and AirPods, a USB-C charger for the iPad Pro and MacBook, and a MagSafe charger for the Apple Watch. It is helpful that the charger for the watch can also be used to charge the headphones. In addition, Apple has just lately released a second version of its MagSafe charging port for laptops. However, this attitude to technology is anything like the clear and uncomplicated vision that Apple promotes. Before you whip out the tiniest violin in the world, let me just say that we are fully aware that we are dealing with a first-world problem here. Those that are able to pay for all of that equipment don't seem to be in too much pain. Nevertheless, it is an area in which Apple has the potential to and ought to make changes. More than a year ago, Apple's pricing approach may appear to be a lot simpler than it actually is, and it will shortly, in large part, due to the efforts of the European Union. The European Union has been encouraging manufacturers of electronic equipment to standardize USB-C for approximately 5 years now, in order to promote interoperability and environmental benefits. Also, we look from the perspective of an eco-friendly world, an ideal world. Having fewer types of chargers will result in fewer of those chargers being dumped in landfills. This week, the European Union took another step in that direction by passing a law that requires manufacturers of many devices, including phones, tablets, cameras, headphones and headsets, e-readers, keyboards, mice, mobile navigation systems, and portable game consoles and speakers to switch to USB-C by the end of 2024 for new products. This law went into effect this past week. In the spring of 2026, this will also apply to laptops. The EU legislation was adopted by legislators back in June, but it wasn't until this past Tuesday that the European Parliament gave its stamp of approval, making it official and paving the way for the law to go into effect in around 2 years. Also, Apple has voiced its disagreement with the change publicly, stating that tight legislation mandating just one type of connector stifles innovation rather than fostering it, which in turn would affect consumers in Europe and around the world. This statement was made 1 year ago. Apple, on the other hand, has been working diligently behind the scenes to get ready for this law. Our prediction is that the corporation will meet or even easily surpass the deadline with the majority of its most prominent items. The iPhone 15 will very certainly receive USB-C in the fall of 2023, which is 1 year earlier than the mandated release date. The only iPad model now available that does not have a USB-C connector is the base model, but Apple plans to add the port before the year is up. That leaves the AirPods, Magic Mouse, Magic Keyboard, and Magic Trackpad as the remaining products that will eventually require an update. According to the law, the shift only applies to newly manufactured gadgets. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Apple releases an iPhone Southeast in March 2024 that uses Lightning rather than USB-C. Due to the fact that the item was released prior to the year 2024, it would not be considered non-compliant in the European Union. It would simply imply that the modification would be necessary for the model year 2025 or 2026. On the other hand, we don't think it will take Apple that long to incorporate USB-C into all of its products. We would be willing to bet that the next versions of the ordinary AirPods, AirPods Pro, and AirPods Max will all move to USB-C, and the switch should be completed by 2024 at the latest. Next year, We anticipate significant Mac improvements, such as the release of new iMac and Mac Pro models. That relocation most likely coincides with accessory changes, as that is a reasonable assumption to make. Given the infrequency with which Apple updates its Mac accessories, we also believe it is a safe bet that those accessories will transition to using USB-C in their subsequent iterations. Consequently, the question arises as to why Apple is openly opposing the regulation while quietly planning to change. The corporation recognizes that this decision is in the best interest of its customers, as well as the larger Apple ecosystem as a whole. But it can't publicly agree with the EU, since that would give the impression that a government is dictating its product development plans, which would be a horrible precedent. If you don't like the way an Apple product operates, you should try to modify it through the legal system. Apple wants to be able to claim that it made the decision to switch to USB-C for reasons that are unique to the company. We have no doubt that Apple will justify this change by claiming that it offers a more unified approach to charging across all of its products, in addition to being faster for powering up and transferring data. In spite of this, we believe that the age of the USB-C connector will have a much shorter lifespan than that of the 30-pin iPod connector or Lightning, at least when it comes to Apple's mobile devices. Lightning will have been used on iPhones for almost the same amount of time as its predecessor, the iPod connector, which was in use for approximately 11 years. We have not given up on the idea that wireless technology will play a significant role in Apple's future, and that the company will one day realize at least some of its vision for the AirPower charging mat that it scrapped in 2017 long before the end of the next decade. It is likely that Apple will begin the switch to inductive charging exclusively on the iPhone and iPad at some time in the next several years, making them consistent with the Apple Watch. The European Union has said that its new regulation would not apply to devices such as smartwatches or those that cannot be charged through a cable connection. Therefore, we wager that Apple's plans for a wireless future and inductive charging will prove to be an efficient workaround. This is predicated on the assumption that the corporation will succeed in figuring out the technology. AirPower, which was proposed in 2017 but ultimately abandoned in 2019, clearly wasn't the solution that was needed. It's unclear whether Apple will make such a severe adjustment as removing the charging port entirely. According to Joswiak's comments at WSJ Tech Live, Apple will indeed convert to USB-C rather than an entirely cable-free design. There are several causes for this. Apple would very certainly face outrage if it did so. Furthermore, technical limitations may preclude wireless charging from being a viable full-time replacement for wired charging. However, the EU's new restrictions, increased pressure from U.S. legislators like Senator Elizabeth Warren, and advancements in wireless protocols make the case for a port-free iPhone stronger than ever. Apple never talks about new products before they're ready to be shown off, so it's impossible to know what the future holds for the iPhone. But Apple may have at least thought about how a truly wireless iPhone would work, according to old reports and patent applications. According to you, if iPhone comes with wireless technology, what challenges will everyone face? Let us know in the comments below. And that brings us to the end of the video. Feel free to let us know what you think about this video. And if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.